Nvidia and AMD have been fighting it out on the big stage for a couple of years now, and I think I'm finally going to take a side. Now let me say right off the bat that this is not a Team Red versus Team Green debate, as I have no allegiance to any particular brand of hardware, but what I do have an interest in is getting the best value out of my money and helping my viewers make purchases that are in their best interest. So last week, Nvidia slashed the MSRP of the 3090 Ti from an eye-watering $2,000 to a more reasonable but still insane $1,500. And some people are going to be more likely to buy one after that. I would advise most people against that. What I'm going to do is go over all of the major specs of each card and compare them, and then I'll tell you which one that I think is better to purchase right now, so stick around. So AMD's top-end card that holds the competitive spot against the 3090 Ti is the RX 6950 XT. So let's talk specs. In terms of VRAM, which is basically like normal RAM except used specifically for video rendering, the 3090 Ti boasts 24 gigabytes, whereas the 6950 boasts only 16 gigabytes. So the Nvidia card definitely comes out on top in that category, although it's pretty hard for the average gamer to eat up all that VRAM unless you're just pushing a ton of pixels or rendering 3D models in a professional setting. Now it might seem that the 3090 Ti has started out way far ahead with its 50% lead in VRAM, but don't count the 6950 XT out so fast. Because where Nvidia was the clear winner in the VRAM category, the 6950 XT is way ahead in the clock speed category. It has a base clock speed of 1925 megahertz, where the 3090 Ti has a base clock of only 1560 megahertz. That equates to an almost 25% faster processing speed, which almost makes up for the 50% increased VRAM that the 3090 Ti has over the 6950. Now the next category that I'm going to speak on is one that I don't see talked about a whole lot, and that's visuals. Probably because most people don't take the looks of their components into a whole lot of consideration building their computer, but personally for me, how things look in a case is a huge thing for me when I'm considering which components to buy. Now I can't say I blame them, because when you think about it, most of your components are going to get shoved into a PC where they're either not visible or hardly visible, and it makes sense that most people don't take that into consideration. But nowadays, with how big GPUs are, it makes sense for me to take that into consideration when I'm picking parts. And yes, this is a subjective category, but in my opinion, AMD's cards, being the reference cards and the aftermarket cards, they just look so much better than the Nvidia's cards in general. I think the one exception to that is the ROG Strix aftermarket line for Nvidia, but those cards come at a hefty premium, and most people are not willing to pay for the price that it takes to get those good looks. So the second to last category that I'm going to speak on is TDP, or thermal design power. And it's becoming more and more of a discussed topic as we move into these more recent power-hungry component lineups. And the reason for that being power draw and heat. Now, if you don't know, there is a direct one-to-one correlation between how much power a component uses and how much heat it outputs. And it makes sense when you think about it, because power draw, being measured in watts, is the same as heat transfer, which is also measured in watts. And yes, over the years, as components have gotten more power hungry, cooling has also gotten a lot better. But the kicker to that is that the better you cool your PC, the more hot air that you're pushing out into your room, and you're making your air conditioning in your house work overtime. And some people take power draw into a whole lot more consideration than others, especially those living in an already warm climate, or people who don't have air conditioning at all, or people who have air conditioning that's already working overtime in the hot months. Okay, so the last category, and I think the one that matters the most to many people, is price. And this is where things get really interesting, because according to the benchmarks, the 3090 Ti is better than the 6950 XT by about 8%. But there is not a direct correlation between price and percentage better in benchmark. You're going to pay more than 8% more for a 3090 Ti than you ever will for a 6950 XT. Even with Nvidia's recent price drops, you're going to be very hard pressed to find a 3090 Ti that's under $1,300 right whereas now. You can find 6950 XTs on Amazon, every brand, for under $1,100. And that's not even the whole story. With Nvidia recently delaying its 40 series release date, I think we're going to see their GPU prices stay higher for a little bit longer. But my prediction is that when the actual release date of the 40 series GPUs gets announced, every retailer is going to have to dump their supply of current gen cards. So I have a feeling that we could see 6950 XTs under $900 and 3090 Ti's under $1,100 in the coming months. And I know a lot of people would be really willing to buy a 6950 XT under that $1,000 price point. So I definitely feel that the 3090 Ti is obviously the higher performing card, but at the price point it comes at and the amount of heat it outputs, it's just not worth buying over the 6950 XT. But my advice to you is do not wait until the next gen comes out to try to get a current gen card, because you might think the prices are going to drop. Because it's very likely that when the 40 series and the RDNA 3 cards come out, everybody that was waiting to get their hands on one that can't because of supply chain issues is going to try to get a current gen card, and prices are going to skyrocket. So I might wait a little longer to get a current gen card, but do not wait too long. And if you want to hear more about how to pick the right PC components, be sure to check out this video. Thanks for watching.